Hi, I'm Jen. I'm a doctor, mum and a knitter, and some of you may know me from TikTok, which is where I have been posting up until now. However, I've really been wanting to start posting more long form content here on YouTube because I'm always finding on TikTok that the 10-minute limit to the videos is just not long enough for a lot of the stuff I want to talk about, because I could literally talk about knitting and knitting related things for hours. Yeah, and I also really love watching knitting podcasts or other knitting related videos like pattern roundups or project vlogs. I usually stick them on while I'm knitting myself or doing other things, or I'm in here playing with my son. So I thought that I would also enjoy making videos like that and sharing my passion for this craft. So please be nice. I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope to upload some more soon. I thought I would start by doing the classic knitting podcast type vibe. I don't know if I'll follow the setup exactly because I can't really remember what order everything goes in usually, but yeah, come along with me. And this here is my dog Frida. She's a very needy little cockapoo, so you will surely see her in a lot of my videos. So shall we put you down? So I'm going to start with a finished object, and I think this is my only finished object so far from 2026, and that is what I'm wearing. This is my Lanark sweater stockinette version, which I test knitted for Rebecca Clow, and I love this jumper. I have worn it basically non-stop since I finished it. I wear this to and from work because it's still quite cold here in the UK. I love wearing it fully zipped, which I'll show you, when it's cold, underneath coats and jackets when I'm walking the dog, and then around the house it looks really nice, styled, unzipped as well. But yeah, it's just really light and airy, easy to throw on, and it's just a proper wardrobe staple, which is exactly what I wanted it to be. I will show you it in full length in a moment. So I knit this in the Knitting for Olive Merino in the colour Thunder Cloud, and the soft silk mohair in Rainy Day. I think I've got them the right way around, but they might be the opposite. But essentially the merino was the dark colour and the mohair was the lighter colour. So it's got this really nice marled fabric. I'll see if I can go a bit closer so you can see how the marling looks. And I'm sorry, the sunlight is kind of obscuring it, but hopefully you can see the marling. Yeah, this is the fit. It's nice and oversized. I think I've knit it with the upper end of the positive ease, which I think was like 20-25 centimeters, because the size below would have only given me maybe 3 or 4 centimeters of positive ease. So it's on the more oversized side of things, which is fine because I like to throw it on over other things. I like to tuck my jumpers in a little bit. So this is what it looks like, and this is what it's like when it's zipped. There we go. Yeah, hopefully you can see that. So while I was making this, I had a panic that when I did the ribbing on the body, I essentially changed the needles to then do the sleeves, and realised that one of the needles was the 4.5 millimeters for the stockinette part, and one of them was the 4 millimeter needle that I was supposed to be using for the ribbing, and I wasn't sure which one I had actually done the ribbing in, and I assumed that it would have been the 4 millimeter because I felt like I would have noticed it feeling tight as I was knitting if it was the other way around. So I basically thought I'd knit the hemline on too big a needle, and it was really kind of like crinkled before I blocked it. But I thought I would wait, I would knit the sleeves, and I would then see what the ribbing on the sleeves looked like in comparison. And to be honest, when I compared them, they looked the same. So I mean, I still don't know if I technically did the hemline ribbing on the slightly bigger needle size, but I don't think it's affected things too much. I do think that maybe the hemline would have been more fitted if I had been a needle size smaller, but I'm not even sure if this was on the recommended or not. I still love the jumper, and that's my mistake. And I was also a little bit scared to do the zipper because I'm not a sewer, but actually it was a lot easier than I expected. Rebecca includes a video in the pattern that goes through how to do it, and I just think that I probably would like to go back in at some point and put more stitches, just because there's some areas like this that you can see where it kind of pulls back, where there's a gap between each stitch, which I don't think you notice like general wear, but I know it's there and I notice it, so I would like to go back over that sewn part of the zip. But in general, the zip was a lot easier than I expected it to be. So I feel like I should move on to my current whips, and I have 3 active whips and 1 that is in whip jail right now. The one in whip jail is my jaunty shawl. That's because it's a pattern that you can use different yarn weights, and you essentially just use like 45% of what yarn you've got, and then with doing increases, and then you start decreasing once you get to that 45% point. But I'm using a sock weight yarn, so I can't remember if it's fisherman's rib or half fisherman's rib, but it is growing so slowly because it's on a sock weight yarn in half fisherman's rib. I will show you. I've even gone to the point of taking it off the cable that it was on. I had it on hold on a cable, but I needed the cable for something else, so I've got it on barber cord now. I do love the yarn, and I really want to finish this at some point. I think it's going to be a really nice autumnal looking scarf, and it's not like a soft yarn, and it's not a rustic yarn, it's kind of in the middle, and I think it will be like a well wearing yarn, or quite a sturdy yarn because of that. But this is the yarn I'm using. It is, I'm probably going to butcher this, it's Shopple Zobable Crazy. This, you obviously can't even see all the colours that are in it, but it's got such beautiful like plums, mustardy colours, greens, reddy orange colours you can see through there. The colour is called, I can't remember what it is in English, but it is 1153. I've checked, it's called Backlight, because I think there were some other ones with the word light in, so yeah, this one specifically is Backlight. I got 2 balls of this, so I was planning to use most of 1 ball before starting the decreases, but right now, as I said, I just can't face it. It's been on hold for ages. I occasionally will do like this much of it and then stop again, so I've just decided now's not the right time, forget about it, and maybe I'll come back to it in the springtime so it's ready for next autumn winter. While I have this project bag out, I might as well show you the other whip that's in this bag. That is some vanilla socks I'm knitting for my husband. So I finished the first sock, I'm using the Crazy Sock Lady pattern called Vanilla Socks on 9-inch circulars. That's because I like knitting socks on shorties. And I'm using Drops Fable, and it's one of the self-striping ones that they have. It might be turquoise or something turquoise. So this is the first sock. I originally I bought the yarn to make socks for my husband, but I chickened out thinking that he wouldn't want them, so I started making it for myself. I then asked him if he'd want them, and he said yes, but I forgot that his feet are a lot longer than mine, even though we have the same width foot. So I literally knit it for my size foot, and the heel wouldn't even go halfway up his foot. So I went back, ripped back, and finished doing it for his feet. You can see how long that foot is. It's literally as long as the leg, but yeah, really, really long. So I have kind of been avoiding doing the second sock because of the 2 other projects that I'm working on, but I've got to the point where he keeps saying, are my socks ready? Are my socks ready? And I have other socks that I want to knit for myself, and I'll show you the yarn I've got for those towards the end. So I really just need to get these socks done, because I know that if I just put my head down, I could get these done in a couple of days. Like on like Thursday or Friday, I was only to here, and then I just focused on these mostly, and I've gotten through the heel and I'm onto the gusset decreases, so I really don't have that much left to do. I want to smash through these so I can cast on my next pair of socks. So that is my sock whip right now. I usually try and keep one sock whip on the go. And now my 2 jumper whips. I usually either have 1 or 2 garments on the go at once, and previously that would be maybe 1 stockinette one and something a bit more complicated, but to be fair, last year was my first year of knitting and I mostly just did stockinette projects, so I often just had 1 on the go at a time. This year I am planning to challenge myself more with more colour work and more texture, and that's really what I'm craving. And as much as I want to do a couple of stockinette projects, I am really hyped on texture and colour work this year, and you can see that in my current whips for jumpers or sweaters, depending on what you call them. So my first one that I'll show you, and I need to get it out of the bag without ending up in a tangle because I've got so many different balls of yarn attached right now. That will do. So this is a pattern from Spektakelstrik called the Bibi sweater. I saw this pattern maybe like November time, and I was immediately like, I need to knit this right now. I think I saw it on 13.knits on Instagram. She did, I think, like a greeny backgrounded one. It's beautiful, and that inspired me to want to make this pattern. I immediately went and ordered yarn for it, immediately swatched for it, and was like itching so much to start making this while I was doing this test knit, but I felt like I couldn't really start this until I got this test knit done because I was worried I would not reach the deadline otherwise. So I then, as soon as I finished this, cast on this Bibi sweater, and it has been a slog so far. So this is what I have. I'll try and unroll it so you can see the full extent of the colour work I've done. Essentially, the ribbing is, it's a bottom up sweater, and the ribbing is knit on it's supposed to be 2.5mm needles, but I didn't have any except for my sock needles, so I decided to use my 2.75s because I'm also a tight knitter, even though I got gauge on the 3.5mm needed for the stockinette colourwork. I thought I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. So I was literally doing almost 400 stitches in 2x2 rib on 2.75mm needles to get to 7cm. So that ribbing took me 3 weeks. Now I've moved on to the colourwork, things are going so much faster. I think I started this colourwork at the beginning of the week and this is where we're at. So I think I've done like maybe almost 10 rows of colourwork. So I do think it's going to go a lot faster now. The colourwork is on 3.5mm needles and it's so motivating as you see the pattern appear to just keep going, like one more row. So I'm not as worried about how slow it's going. Not that I'm not worried anyway. I went back to work from maternity leave in January and prior to this I was doing so much knitting. I have so many finished objects from last year, or I think I know a lot of people knit more than me even then, but I knew that going back to work with a 1-year-old and also I have exams to do this year, I was just not going to be able to do as much knitting. So that's also kind of why I wanted to do more texture and colourwork, things that I can just work on, learn new skills. I'm not too bothered about rushing through them. So that's where we're at. It'll take as long as it takes, but I do think that it is going to go faster now that I'm on the colourwork. Oh, and I haven't mentioned what yarn I'm using. So let me get I have a huge bag of yarn for this project. I obviously have mostly the dark blue, but there's also all my other colours. I'll see if I can find my swatch in a second so you can see what it's going to look like. But essentially it's mostly Spektakelstrik Saga with Tilia, but a couple of the colours I could not get in Saga, so I went for the Spektakelstrik Arwetta for this red squirrel colour and also for the creamy colour, which I think was something like marzipan, but all the other colours are in this Spektakelstrik Saga with Tilia. They're both held with Tilia. Let me see if I can find my swatch so that you can see what the actual pattern is going to look like. Okay, I found my swatch and this is she. So I've got the navy blue background, I've got the red squirrel, and then we've got a mustard colour, a creamy colour and the light blue right in the middle. Then this section, oh I think we've got green in there as well, yeah, the green colour, and then in the middle it's just using the same green, cream and mustard, and then the second stripe here has the pinky colour instead of the red squirrel, and then these alternate either side of this row. So I am very excited to have this in an all over colourwork sweater. I think it's going to be a labour of love and it's going to be so worth the effort. And now my third and final whip, that is my Finest Kind from Alicia Plummer, and I'm knitting this in Peace Fleece, which I've never used before, and it was recommended to me by Shelley Knits. She's on here and on TikTok, and I'm also on her Discord server, which is a lovely friendly little group of knitters where we just yap about all sorts of stuff. There's lots of different parts of that Discord, so I recommend it if you're looking for some knitting chats. But essentially the recommended yarn for the Finest Kind wasn't available, or maybe still isn't available, but Shelley mentioned that for the test knit, Peace Fleece worsted was one of the other recommended yarns, so she suggested I have a look at that. So I decided to order the Desert Tundra colour. I don't know if you can appreciate from here how varied the colour is. It's kind of a grey, but I'd say it's like a greenish grey, and it's got flecks of blues, yellows, greens and white rust colours within it. But yeah, it's such a beautiful yarn, and the texture on this knit really brings it out as well. I was a little bit worried about whether it'd be too dynamic for such a textured pattern, but yeah, this has come all the way from the US. I ordered directly from Peace Fleets, and I was really surprised that the shipping was free, and I didn't seem to get charged any additional import fees when it was delivered. I was expecting the delivery people to come and ask me to pay additional taxes, but that didn't happen. So I think it was maybe like 8 of these skeins, because they are 200 yards per one. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it was 8. And I have caked up a few of them as I go. So I should probably actually show you the sweater. I'm obviously a glutton for punishment, because both of my sweaters right now are knit bottom up, which in some ways is painful, starting with so many stitches, but at the same time I figure I'm getting the worst bit done straight away. I'm getting over body island, and then everything else is going to feel so much shorter and easier. So that's my logic. I'm trying to make myself feel better. So this is my finest kind. You can see I've done the bottom hemline ribbing, and I think I've done about 4 repeats of the moss stitch pattern now. So hopefully you can see that. It's done on quite chunky needles. I mean, I say chunky, I just mean chunky compared to my Bibi sweater and my socks, because they're on teeny tiny needles. I think it's on 5mm, so this feels huge compared to the others, and it grows a lot faster. So yeah, I feel like this one is not going to take anywhere near as long, but it does feel a bit rougher on the hands because the yarn is a bit more rustic, or a lot more rustic. So this, if you've ever used Spektakelstrik yarns, they're so soft. I've used these ones, and I've also used Spektakelstrik Panilla, and they're all so soft. Whereas this is a very rustic worsted spun, or I think it's worsted spun, woolen spun. Anyway, it's much more rustic. There's literal hay in some of the pieces of yarn. That's how rustic it is. So it's a bit rough on my hands, so I'm not knitting on it for as long as I can knit on the other stuff. But I've worked out, I think I have about 14 more pattern repeats before I get to the splitting for front and back and sleeves, so it's not too bad. I'm not sure how I feel about, so essentially the pattern ends up with you having what is like a mock seam along the edge where there's 2 knits next to each other. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm sure once the pattern is worked up I will be fine with it and like it, but right now I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know really what I would do instead, but there we are. Hopefully it won't bother me too much. Those are my 3 active whips and my 1 resting whip. So now I'm going to talk about acquisitions. Firstly, just knitting related acquisitions. I ordered some stuff from, I think it was the Little Knitting Co, which is where I always buy my Gu needles and accessories. They're a very good UK based company, really quick shipping, and I found their customer service really good when I had an issue with something that I ordered wasn't included in a package. I decided to get myself a knitting gauge. This is completely non-essential. I've just been using like a tailor's tape measure up until this point, but I thought it would be nice to just have one where I can just plonk it on top of my swatch, and it's a much more easy way to measure my gauge. So this one is a, I guess like wood or ply board or MDF, I don't know, but it's from Twig and Horn. It's just a simple knitting gauge, and the reason I ordered that is because I also was ordering some extra sock needles. So if I show you my Child case, I have organised it all like this, and I have one of these pouches here with all my sock needles, but I only had one of each size of the 9-inch circulars and then one of each size of the longer fixed circulars for like the toes and heels if needed. So I decided to double up all my 9-inch circulars so that I can, let me just tuck this in, so that I can knit 2 at a time without doing that weird like magic loop 2 at a time thing, because I cannot get my head around that, and I'm not the biggest fan of magic loop. I will do it if I have to and it's fine, but this is my preferred way of knitting socks. So I figured I could do like knit the cuff of the first one, knit the cuff of the second one, and I'd have them on 2 different 9-inch circulars, knit away on each, like 10 rows on that one, 10 rows on that one, and then get to the heel, and I only really need one of the longer fixed circulars to do magic loop, because I'd only ever do like a heel or a toe. Like I'd do the whole heel and the whole toe on the one before doing the whole heel or toe on the next one. Mostly for heels actually, I just use the shorties, but anyway, you know what I mean. So now I can do 2 at a time socks, and I'm looking forward to testing out how that actually works and if it means that I am a bit more motivated to finish the second sock. We will soon find out. So that is acquisitions that are knitting adjacent, knitting accessories. And then I have some yarn as well. So now I'm going to talk about some yarn that I have acquired recently. So the first thing is, as a test knitter for Rebecca Chloe doing this Lanark stockinette test knit, I got the completed Lanark pattern, and I also was able to pick another pattern for myself that I wanted, and I already knew that I was planning to do the Lusk tee as my first summer knit. So I've not done any summer knitting. Last year was, as I say, my first year of knitting. I really just wanted to focus on building up a number of autumn and winter jumpers for my wardrobe and forget about the summer stuff. And I'm much more of a autumn and winter gal, to be honest, but I do want to have some more spring summer type garments in my wardrobe, and they're also quite convenient for me to be able to wear my knits at work, because I'm a doctor and I work in hospital. I have to be bare below the elbow, so I find t-shirts and vests much better, and the hospitals, at least here in the UK, tend to be boiling hot. Like the heating is always raging all year round, so I basically have to wear summer type fibres and clothing year round in the hospital, because otherwise I am sweating out. So I figured that something like this Lusk tee would be really good for that. It is a drop shoulder t-shirt. There are variations within her pattern that you can do, and it also includes bust shaping, which I'm really excited to try. I have not done any patterns with bust shaping before, and I have a very large bust compared to the rest of my body. I'm generally a larger person, but my bust in particular, and her pattern describes how to measure your full bust and then your upper bust, and if it's more than something like 10 centimeters difference, that's like the biggest difference you can have in her pattern, for like the most amount of extra bust shaping, and I'm way over that from like an upper bust to a full bust measurement. So usually I find that to get garments to fit my chest, they hang off me in a lot of other places. So it'll be really nice to see how bust shaping will help a garment be more fitted on me. And I am planning to do a few more patterns in the next year or so that are more fitted, because I do like wearing more fitted items, and I tend to just go for things that are on the smaller side, and then they just have to stretch over my chest. So yeah, interested to see how this construction works and how it fits my body. But essentially, I got that pattern as my free extra pattern for doing that test knit, and I also bought the yarn. So I decided to go for Sandner's Garn Lena, or yeah, I think it's Lena. This was one of her recommended yarns, and the other recommended yarn is Drops Bell. This is a linen blend, I believe. Yeah, 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. And I've gone for the matcha and the white. I love this kind of green colour, and I'm obsessed with stripes. Half my wardrobe is stripes. So yeah, I love this combo. I am planning to maybe finish one or other of these other jumpers I'm working on, and then cast this one on next. And I think I'm going to be doing it as a little buddy knit along with one of my TikTok friends, who is Josh or Joshua from Woolly Knits. I'll tag him below. I literally can't remember his handle. Woolly Knits, something like that. Sorry, Josh. But we are going to test knit this together. Not test knit, what am I on about? We are going to knit along together because he is also planning to do the Lusk tee. I don't know what colours he's planning to do. I need to find out. So yeah, that is a new acquisition, and also future plans as well, kind of combined. And finally, the other acquisition, and I'm still waiting for some other yarns to come now actually, because this did not turn out how I wanted. I lie, I have 2 more things to show you. This one didn't come out as I wanted. So for context, for Christmas my husband got me a voucher for a local yarn store, and they sell a few hand-dyed yarns from the UK. This is one that I picked, called Mermaid Mischief in Alpaca Sock from Red Squirrel and June. It's a really soft sock yarn, and it's a variegated colour, and obviously very mermaidy, as the name suggests. And I was really unsure what contrast colour to do for the cuffs, heels and toes. I asked for some advice on the Discord server I'm part of, because I didn't know whether to go for like a pastel-y blue or purple, or go for a more stark contrast with like a darker teal. And the general consensus was to have more of a stark contrast, and so I ordered a teal colour. This is from Filcolana Arwetta, colour 146. I can't remember what it was called. It might have been dark teal or something, peacock maybe. And just, it's not quite what I wanted. It's a lot more like a muted, I think it looks quite, sorry, someone just came to my door and I'm like sat right in the window, so I had that embarrassment of someone seeing me do this. And my husband probably will be home soon as well, but he knows I'm about to do this video. So anyway, I think it looks quite a lot better in this lighting, but in general, like in person, it is a much more like washed out greyish teal. And I was hoping for it to be a little bit more bluey, turquoisey. So I ended up ordering 2 other teal colours, one from Yarn Smith's Merino Sock and one Drops Fable teal colour. And I'm just gonna try them out, see which ones I like the best. I also ordered a lavender colour, so I'm just gonna test them out, and then whatever's left I can knit into some kind of striped mermaidy sock as a separate set of socks. But the plan is to knit the Mermaid Avenue pattern from Summerly Knits. That's that. And finally, I swear I'll stop talking after this. And I need to find the second one because there's 2. I ordered this from another UK hand dyer called Woolen Witch. She's currently on a hiatus, or her shop is closed because she's been unwell, unfortunately. But this is from her yarn subscription for the year. I just ordered a one-off for the January one because I just loved the colours that she was doing as her inspiration. And this is what came. So she sells them in 50-gram skeins so that you can do your socks 2 at a time with 2 separate balls wound up. But yeah, it's this beautiful autumnal colour with like deep blues, rust colours and pinky colours. I think this will look so nice in like a simple slip stitch pattern, and that's the advice I've been given from much more experienced knitters for socks, is that variegated yarns look much better in either vanilla socks or things with very simple slip stitches. So I've got a load of patterns saved that I could use for that. So that is my final acquisition, aside from 1 or 2 knitting books, which I will just talk about another day because I think this video is going to be so long. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope it wasn't too rambly, and I'm also going to see how I look when I'm looking at the camera, because I'm not actually, I've noticed, been looking at my camera, and I've been looking at I've essentially got my laptop behind with photo booth so I can see myself and make sure that you can see everything in the camera. So I've been actually looking at myself behind the camera, and I have a feeling that that's going to look weird because I'm not looking at the camera. So bear with me while I work all this stuff out, and I'm sure that my editing skills aren't going to be great, but it's going to be a learning curve, and hopefully some of you will enjoy just listening along while you knit as well, and we just have a little rambly yap, because I just love knitting. I'm so passionate about it, and I could talk about it forever and ever and ever. So if you're here watching this and you've watched it all the way through, even if you skip bits, welcome, thank you for listening, and I hope to see you again on my future videos.